Nelson Christopher Stokes, chairman of the Jamaica Bobsled and Skeleton Federation. The Federation is currently on a drive to recruit new female talent. With Audra Segree and of course Carrie Russell, and I'm not sure Jasmine Finlett are already on board, why is the Federation looking for new women?
Apologize for that. So the athletes that you just named are the core of our team, and experienced, well accomplished. But both Carrie as a pilot and Jasmine as a pilot have to race both in the monobob and in the two-man bob. And that's just how the qualification process is set up. So that means that each will have to have a break woman. And as of now, outside of Audra Segree, we have not identified that quality athlete yet. Promising youngsters, but we are not at that stage yet. So we are on the lookout and actively in the process of recruiting quality athletes for that part of for that process. And remember too, it's a long season. We may not want to race, for example, Audra in every single race. We may want to rest her from time to time, in which case we need a relatively deep bench, especially going into a situation with a condensed schedule, Olympic qualification. We are still in a pandemic. We want to have options in terms of the athletes that we have available. But being, of course, an Olympic year, we need to ensure that it is of the quality that we already have on board.
What has been the response to the drive so far?
Very good, very good. Interestingly, quite a bit of response from overseas and a number of athletes locally. There's a lot of trepidation, you can understand. It is a rough sport. It is a dangerous sport. People get, beat up. Carrie has, some, scars on her shoulder from a crash. So you can't make it seem easier than it is, but at the same time, it's a fun sport. I was opportunity to go to the Olympics and an opportunity to be part of one of the premier sports brands in the world. So there are some attractive parts. Where we had of the persons in Jamaica, we had a first viewing by our coaches last week, another viewing this week, and I think on Saturday morning will be our last set of tests, at which point the coaching staff will advise us as to who they recommend that we go forward with.
Who are these athletes? Are they former track and field athletes like the others before them, or are they raw people coming into the system?
No, we welcome former track and field athletes, and I emphasize field because a lot of the athletes on the male side and to some extent on the female side that have done well internationally are multi-sport athletes, jumpers, and perhaps not very surprisingly throwers, because the ability to move a sled, which is several hundred pounds from a static position, is not unlike you use a lot of the hip action that you would use, for example, in the javelin throwing or in the discus. Not so much the shot put, but the javelin and the discus. So we find that persons who are good throwers, who have power in and around the core, make exceptionally good bobsleigh pushers. So that's the sort of skill set that we are looking for, that we know will do well. We also have people who have played volleyball, for example, or in other disciplines, football players on the men's side. So bobsleigh is a discipline by itself. Having speed strength capabilities from whatever discipline, sport discipline background is important. But at the end of the day, you get to prove yourself on a bobsleigh push track, which is what is important.
Beyond the physical attributes, though, what are some of the other characteristics that you're looking for potential candidates?
Long suffering. You're going to be on the road for 5 or 6 months. It's cold, it's uncomfortable, the sled is heavy. You're going to get beat up in the sled. It's not a prima donna sport where you walk around with your spikes over your shoulder. You're going to have to be lifting sleds that weigh several hundred pounds. You're going to have to be living with roommates that annoy you. It's not that you have to sit them on the track for the 4x1 and then you go back to your own room. You have to live and exist with them. These are all very real parts of the sport and success in the sport. And it's one of the things that in our psychometric analysis we look for, teamwork, ability to compromise, and ability to continue to perform under adverse circumstances. They are at a point as important as your athletic ability, because there's no point for you to be able to push really well, but you're complaining about the cold or about the volume of work outside of competition, or that you don't like your roommates. So we have to work through all of these issues, and it becomes quite complex, but we have been successful.
How many people do you plan to select? And once that process is finished, when does training begin?
Well, we have been in training camp throughout the entire June, July, August, and now we're into September. This Saturday morning, 8 a.m. at GC Foster, we have our National Push Championship. So persons who have been through the training camp will compete in the National Push Championship. We expect to select somewhere around 8 men to support Shanwayne Stevens, our male pilot, in the 2 and the 4-man event. And I would like to see us go with a minimum of 6 women, which would be the 2 pilots and Carrie, Jasmine, and Segri, that are really the core of the team, male or female. They are the core of the team. And another three brakewomen in addition to those is what we're looking to. 1 or 2 may join from overseas, but we expect the core team, of course, to come from here in Jamaica.
Or of course, let's switch gears a little bit, because that sounds like a very expensive venture to prepare people for the Winter Olympics. You're on a campaign now to raise more than $2 million US. That's a lot of money in any currency.
Yes.
There was a novel way in which I think I read where you're going to go through the financial sector. Can you shed some light on how that works and how successful has it been so far?
Right. So I think it's important to set the background to this. Bobsleigh is a very expensive sport. In the Olympic sports, it is only second only to the equestrian disciplines. All right, so it's a particularly expensive sport. For example, a 4-man, our sled bill, the bill for our sleds, that's two monobobs, 3 2-man and a 4-man, is $595,000 US. Let me just put that in perspective. All right, so. It's not for the faint of heart. Many teams I've seen myself over the years, big nations, Norway, Sweden, at times Italy, Austria, have dropped out or backed out of the sport because of the cost. We have been there. We have been competitive year in, year out for 30 plus years because we find solutions to these challenges. One of the things that we benefit from, and let me just give you some perspective, the Canadian program, which is it's one of the best in the world, is supported by, it has a $3 million US a year budget. A couple of years ago, the UK budget, before the UK actually cut their bobsleigh program, the bobsleigh and skeleton program is getting £11 million per quadrennial for their sliding sports. That's a lot of money. Now, these are the guys we are racing against and on occasion beating. So we have to find a way to raise that sort of fund, and it's not going to happen through bingo parties or barbecues. So we have to think about what are the innovative ways that we can leverage the brand that we are entrusted with, which is the Jamaica Bobsleigh brand, which remains one of the strongest brands, sport brands in the world, and certainly in the Olympic movement. So we have decided to, again, coming from my background in banking, I'm currently a fintech entrepreneur. I've become familiar with the world of cryptocurrencies, blockchain, and it has led me to what they call non-fungible tokens, which are suggested by a brilliant young gentleman that is part of our fundraising team now named Rohan Meda. And I jumped on it immediately. Now, it is essentially selling art online. So it's digital art.
NFTs.
Yes, digital art. So we have a piece of artwork of a Jamaica bobsleigh. We have a very popular musical artist that we hope to announce soon, who sings in the background to this piece of art. And we have on board some very wealthy American investors, which we will share again at the appropriate time. But they're helping us to help ourselves. They're not saying, Chris, here's a check. They're helping us put the drop together and take the drop to market. And we hope to do well in terms of what we need to get the team to the next level that we want them to be at. So that's very much in track now. You'd have seen where I've been featured in probably every major newspaper worldwide. I was myself on CNN Business last week. So it's getting a lot of traction, a lot of interest. We have to stay focused, stay disciplined, and always keep in mind that we're doing this to get our athletes on the ice and get them the best opportunity possible. But, Leighton, to whom much is given, much is expected. We have to do a little bit more. We have to be a little more innovative, little bit different, leverage more our contacts. And that is what we're trying to do. It's a risk, but it is a risk that we accept, that we embrace, and a challenge that we are in the midst of taking on right now.
Yeah, of course. The challenge, of course, also is for the team to do well, to continue to have this kind of momentum where, initially the momentum came from the movie, the movie, the name eludes me right now, but the thing is,
yes.
Cool Runnings, of course, yes. You're looking at a situation where that has gotten a lot of momentum for the Jamaica Bobsleigh program for a number of years. Can you tell me how strong is that momentum still coming from that, the whole mystique of that, and how much has it helped the federation?
Cool Runnings has been, remember the reason why they made Cool Runnings was because the team was so, and what the team stood for was so, inspired so many people. So it's not that the movie created the strength of the brand. It's that the strength of the brand caused someone to say that we needed to make a movie. But it's a feedback loop where the movie now continues to support what we're doing. And by the way, in the next couple of months, we'll have further news in the whole movie sphere to announce. We're in the process of finalizing various arrangements. But Leighton, people like to see when you win and when you do something exceptional. So when Carrie Russell goes on the world circuit last year and wins a gold and a silver medal and Jasmine wins, it helps because it helps with sponsorship, it helps with building the brand. And our activity on social media is something that is a sort of a double-edged sword. But we do not refer to ourselves as the Jamaica Bobsleigh team. We refer to ourselves as the Jamaica Bobsleigh movement. And why is it a movement? It's a movement because it says to the world that you can be exceptional, you can do exceptional things regardless of where you're from. So our fan mail comes from Aborigines in Australia. It comes from a youngster in Minnesota who is feeling left out. So our presence, our continued presence, our continued contact with these people, our continued innovation in the space in the space of fundraising, and our continued high quality performance on the track strengthens that movement, brings in new fans, and causes us to be in a position to have an impact on the world and to continue to fund the program. But without doubt, Cool Runnings opens any door for me anywhere in the world.
All right, let's switch gears once again. You mentioned, of course, Audra Sigri and, of course, Carrie Russell have been doing really well. Audra recently took up the motorbob herself. Give us an update on where they are now. We know Carrie ran a couple of medals last year, did exceptionally well. Audra is now breaking into that format as well. Yes. Can you give us a status report on where they are at? And while you're at it as well, mention what are the guys doing? Because I know the women have taken pride of place over the past few years.
Yes. Jamaica Bobsleigh is a global movement, yes, but it also reflects Jamaica because we are based out of Jamaica. I'm talking to you from my house in Kingston now. Our athletes train at people all over the world cuss GC Foster. Jamaica Bobsleigh team's home base is GC Foster. Our athletes, for the most part, are recruited from Jamaica, from people that you and I have seen run at champs. Or from the army, and we know them competing in other spheres. So that's something that it's intentional. We also recognize the birthright of Jamaicans in the diaspora. So we have Jasmine Fenlett, who previously competed for the US, who is a team leader for us now. And on the men's side, we have Shanwayne Stevens, who is a sniper for the Royal Air Force, an excellent, outstanding pilot. We got back to the World Cup on the men's side, which is the highest level of men's competition, for the first time last year. Interestingly, we qualified again for the first in many years, since 2006, I believe, in the 4-man for men. So Shanwayne Stevens is carrying the flag very high on the men's side. They're doing well. We expect to qualify both a 2 and a 4-man for the Olympics. The 4-man, of course, being the marquee event in bobsleigh and skeleton. But I said what I said before to say that without doubt, it is our women that are leading the way. I expect fully for Jasmine and Kari to do very well in the qualification races. I haven't been able to follow Jasmine's training so much, but I see the work, the effort, and the excellence of Kari at GC Foster every day. I see the extra effort that Segri is making to train under the most difficult of circumstances. And you know, there was a time when we would say, you know, the Bible says that children would lead the way, but certainly in sport of bobsleigh, women are leading the way. I think 80% of our administration now is women, and it's something that I embrace, and it's going well. So we expect to qualify over the 8-race circuit that is the America's Cup. They'll take our 7 best performances. We expect to qualify Jasmine and Kari in the 2-woman and the monobob events, and we expect to carry, that's on the women's side. We expect to qualify Shanwayne Stevens in the 2-man and Shanwayne Stevens in the 4-man. So that is what we're looking at right now. And I have reason to be encouraged for 2 things: the results from last season on the monobob circuit and for our 2 and 4-man, and the quality of training under the superb coaching leadership of Wayne Thomas, who's just, perhaps the leading physical trainer in the sport of bobsleigh worldwide right now, who was a former athlete to Jamaica, who is sought after all over the world in terms of developing speed strength athletes. And I expect that his work with our athletes will give us some of the best starts. And seeing what I saw last year, the quality of the training that has happened at GC Foster in the US and in the UK, I expect that, we go on the ice in a couple of weeks for push training in Lake Placid, and I expect to have very good results. Now, things go up and down. You have to take your punches. Some of the punches are to the gut. You bend over, you catch your breath, you stand back up, and you keep going, right? That's life. And so we look forward to the process, Lee.
Mm-hmm. And of course, finally, what are the qualification deadlines?
So the final date for calculating all the points that have been earned is January 19th. We hope to have done so well by our last planned race is the last day of our last planned race is December 19th. By that time, we'd have done 3 races in Whistler, in Canada, 2 races in Lake Placid, in Salt Lake City, in Utah, another 3 races in Lake Placid. That gives us 8 races. They're going to choose the top 7 results, and then we get we see where we fall in our allotment with our points, and we expect everybody to qualify. So I believe that we will know who has qualified by the evening of December 19th, but the official announcement will not come out until a month later.
All right. Well, Nelson Stokes, thank you so much, and of course, wishing the TU and the team all the best.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Cool.